What's up, studs? Canal here, Bulls on Wall Street. Happy Super Bowl day. Hopefully you guys are somewhat sober and able to focus for a handful of minutes so that we can build out our watch list and have a shredding day. Normally, I'd leave you all alone on Super Bowl Sunday, but with the market this hot, we've got to go out and do our work because let me just tell you something from the last 15 years of experience that I've had. You get about 2 months a year, 3 months a year where the market is truly cooking. I'm talking maybe 2 months max, where you're truly cooking and everything is working. And we're in that phase right now. And so we do got to knuckle down and we got to do the Lord's work a little bit when the market is going. So in today's video, we're going to do a handful of things. Number one, we're going to go over the overall market, some indexes, what we're looking at and where we're going and where the key levels are. Then we'll dig into the watch list. 7-8 minutes tops, and then we will be good to go. Guys, I had to build out a new YouTube channel for the watch list. That's what you're on right now. Please click subscribe, please click subscribe and all that kind of fun stuff while we ship from our old one to the new one. Let's get to work. So guys, first of all, the QQQs, what can we say, right? The Qs have been on a monster run, and Friday was no different. We chopped around for a hot second. At the open, maybe like 3 candles on the 5-minute, took out the opening range, and we went up the rest of the day. Can't argue with that kind of action. It was there. It was hot. It was sexy. The SPY, the same type of deal here, right? You've come out of this range here, and now we're just kind of grinding higher. This is the key to this market right now. We are overbought, but we're not necessarily extended, so those are two different things. And that's where we're going to have to be a little bit careful here, which is like you can see we have a 93 stochastics. That's a measure of overbought, oversold. Right? We're at a 93. Anything over 80 is considered overbought, but you can stay overbought for long periods of time. So we are overbought, but we're not extended. So we're kind of in this little Goldilocks zone, and we'll have to just keep an eye on that. If we start to rip through the top of the Bollinger Band, that's when you're probably going to get a little bit of a pullback or some inside days. There shall be it is a very, very low probability to get a bear market crash, big pullback. I'm talking 10% type of plus, even 8%. Most likely when you're in this phase of the market, most pullbacks are going to be concentrated to 2 to 4 to 5% max, or just consolidations and basing action, which is actually a much higher probability. There's a couple other things working for the market we should be aware of. The risk basket. When I talk about risk basket, Bitcoin is obviously a measure of risk in the markets. It's an imaginary coin. I love Bitcoin, but right, it is an imaginary coin. This is a measure of risk. You're up 4% on Friday. Solars. I think Solars is a measure of risk. It's been in a downtrend for quite some time. Alti's been not doing very well. You're starting to round out here and do a little bit of bottoming, up 3% on Friday. ARK, when the ARK names are going, that's a measure of risk, up 2.3%. The ARK, even the ARK F was going. You're talking the whole, right, shebang here. Even the ARK F is breaking out. Look at this consolidation break on this. We have a broad-based run here. This is, to me, the most positive sign of last week. We have this consolidation in the IWM that's been happening for a little bit of time. It's less overbought than the SPY and the Qs. And we finally broke out of this kind of trend line. We are at the top of the Bollinger Band, so kind of if we gap up big tomorrow, I think we'll probably pull. But any kind of weak open into this, really be mindful of the levels, right? Any kind of weak open under this, if you kind of get this thing down here on the open, I think that's going to be pretty positive for the overall market. Guys, we are in a broad-based thrust now. A lot of things that people were saying was, hey, the market rally's only been led by 7 stocks. That's been true, but we are starting to get some steam the last 4 or 5 days in other names to get a broader-based rally. Yes, the Magnificent Seven obviously have been really leading the way, but we are starting to see some green shoots as your Magnificent Seven. We are starting to see some green shoots. You can see here, right, the run on this the last 30 days, 12% on those names is pretty incredible, right? Especially when you got a couple dogs in that group too. So we are in a broad-based run. Let's get into the watch list, and then I'm going to let you guys go, so you guys can go have some fun. Don't get too drunk tonight. Don't drive, right? Take an Uber. Take an Uber if you're rolling around. Let's get into this. Let's keep an eye on the crypto names here. I'm not shorting this unless we get a blow off in Bitcoin. Probably like a blow off, like break over 50,000 and maybe back under, something like that would be a blow off. Obviously, we're extended here. We're overbought. I think the trend is higher on these names, but I'm talking about for tomorrow. Man, if we got a big gap up on this, like say this thing gaps up 10%, 15%, Bitcoin blows off too, you need Bitcoin to confirm. The worst mistakes I've made on these names has been when they get extended and I'm not getting confirmation from Bitcoin and the rest of the basket to confirm. That's been getting me in a lot of trouble over the years. I mean, I don't do it anymore, but I think that's going to be really important. Same thing, right? Mara, up 4 days in a row, top of the Bollinger Band. If this gets any weakness, I think it actually gets bought up. I'm only looking at this for a short. If we get a blow off, I need that Bitcoin to really rip close to 50,000, if not above, to do this trade. I think if we had a big gap down, like say this thing gap down 5% or something, not big, but say this thing gap down over here, it's probably, I think it bounces a little bit at the open and then consolidates for a few days. So then you just then it's a leave alone. Let's get into this. Net had earnings out. Everybody was looking for that big push in Net because of ARM and so many of these other earnings names. I think ARM was maybe more of a one-time thing on that particular name because it's an AI company. It's a semiconductor company, right? You have that kind of perfect storm. It's an IPO. Net is a little bit of a different company. Still a great, great ticker, great name. Still got a lot of potential on this. It was just, obviously up 20% on Friday. It just ran out of juice here. A weak open on this one. I think a red to green does it on that. Vera, man, we've been having this one on and off on our watch list for a while. High tight flag broke that out on Friday. This was a nice trender on Friday too. You got to pop up, pull back into the bone zone, and then a go. I think this is another one. You get a weak open on this one. We can shred. Look at this CRDO. You got a nice easy spot on this. Not the sexiest name. Not something everybody's talking about. But 6% move on Friday, coming out of flag pattern. This is the type of stocks that you really want to be playing. They have a little bit less volume, a little bit less notice. It can be tricky sometimes to trade something that everybody's watching, right? Look at the action on NVIDIA, man. It's hard to trade that name. Too many eyeballs on it. When too many eyeballs are on it, yes, they follow through, but they're not as easy as you think. Like when you're looking at it and you're like, oh shit, that looks like a nice setup. It doesn't move like that, I think. Sometimes we got too much stuff on this. AAY, love this name. This may be my favorite idea for tomorrow. Test. You got a trend line break happening here. You don't got earnings for about 10 more days. I think this one, if it breaks tomorrow, 24 very easily. Interesting action in PayPal. This is not a certifiable setup per se, but it is something that I've seen work in the past in bull markets, which is when you get a gap down on the earnings, it's a gap down reversal play. It only works in very, very specific market instances, maybe 2 months out of 2 years. This will work, which is the bad earnings reversal play where the market is so hot that the bad earnings and the movement down is actually looked as a buying opportunity by institutions and funds. And this may be actually a possibility. Let's see how this gap holds. I think we may get a reversal on that if the market can hold up. Etsy here. You know what? A bunch of people asked me about this on Friday, and I didn't like it. And now all of a sudden I do. If this, go figure, right? If this breaks over the 200-day moving average, not many stocks left under the 200-day moving average. It does have a tendency to move a lot too, right? It was at $58, went to $90. It has the ability to go up 50, 75%. I think that's got a nice spot to it. ENPH, this was a solars, right? This is, what we were kind of talking about solars. You got a gap up here on earnings, right? Now you got a kind of 3-bar, inside day move. If you're going on this one, watch this kind of action around, I would say 124 is going to be your sweet spot. any type of weakness in the show and go over that, I think is going to be really nice. VSCL, this looks like more of a swing setup. It needs one inside day here. Inside day is just a narrow range day because you're on day 3 of the move. Guys, when you're on day 3 of the move, you don't want to chase any breakouts. You need like some weakness to get into it because you're going to be too far away from your EMAs. So just watch for like a little spike down on this thing, get it closer to the 9. I think that will set this thing off. TWST is a little bit tighter here, right? Not as extended from the 9. I think this one's ready to shred. This is more of a swing trade setup. It's not a day trader, only 1 million shares a day in volume. SEDG, same setup as ENPH. You got the spike up, inside day. You got an MA right on top. I would say a takeout of this 79 to 80 is going to get this thing ready to pate. AMD, watch this trend line break at 175. Dude, this arm had a rest day on Friday. I think this is what you want to do on this, though. You don't want to chase it up, but any kind of dips down towards this 102, 100 zone is going to be hot. We added this thing at right at the open on Friday. It was fantastic setup. Elon's got a breakout over 16, 17. And then look, we need a couple shorts. We do have some stocks that are starting to roll over with a little uptick in volume. DXCM. This cause is a bear flag, right? Breakdown, pullback. 540, got 16 million shares in volume. NCLH broke under the 200-day moving average with 22 million shares in volume, about double the previous day. Got a nice little shredder on this one too. And, same thing with this WPC. This is an earnings miss. You got a couple names here that we can short if we need it. Not been an easy market to short. I'm not looking to short the market per se. But we do have to just think, if we got a big gap up in the QQQs or something like that, we may have to take down a couple names. But I do think that even if the QQQs, the big name techs, get really extended, we have this IWM that's just starting to peek its head. Now, you don't want it to open over the top of the Bollinger Band, but if it kind of can get around here, it's going to loosen that up and allow us some fun. So, guys, let me know if you have any questions. Good luck at the Super Bowl, whether you're a Swiftie or a Niners fan. You guys know that the Lions should have been in this one. There's just that little bounce off a helmet and some stupid calls, but we had this. The good people of Detroit, we're not rooting for nobody today. We're sitting this one out. We're pissed. We don't like this shit. We should have been winning it all. This would have been the greatest day. Today should be the greatest day of my life. And yet, we're not. But it's still a great day. So let's go have some fun. I love you guys.